Green Bay goes to Chicago in a huge game in which very well would have decided the NFC North and very well could. Right now, Chicago, if they were to win out, will win the NFC North. In fact, the only way that they can lose the NFC North right now is Chicago would have to lose out and the Packers would have to win out. In that scenario where Chicago loses at San Francisco this coming week and against the Detroit Lions in 2 weeks, if that were to happen to the Packers win their final two, they'll be the 7th seed and they will go on the road to play the Green Bay Packers. So nightmare scenario is still completely possible for Chicago. And so even coming from this game where people are talking about this game of it's Chicago's biggest win maybe this century. It is one of their biggest wins in franchise history. That it could very quickly flip the other way and flip right there on its head. I think a huge takeaway from this game has to be that Green Bay is going to be competitive with anybody, and Chicago is kind of given this game. This game, it comes down to an onside kick at the end because Chicago has two timeouts. We're past the 2-minute warning at that point, and they're down 16-9, and they go for the onside kick. If they don't pick it up, at best, they'll get the football with roughly 40 seconds, have to drive 90 yards, and still score a touchdown in a windy day there in Soldier Field. And so it's pretty much out of the question. But Romeo Doubs can't pick up the football for whatever reason. And because of that, Chicago is able to lead their scoring drive. They're able to force overtime and then hit the big touchdown to DJ Moore over the top. And so for me, in a game where they lose Jordan Love and they are, 2 weeks removed, or sorry, a week removed from the Micah Parsons injury, I think there's some bias here as a Packers guy, but the Packers, I don't feel any less confident than I did, 2 weeks ago, because for them to show this competitive character when losing Jordan Love, and you could argue Malik Willis played better than Jordan Love, especially in the second half in this game. They were all over this game. Their defense was incredible. They forced 3 field goals to Chicago in this game, unlike the last one, where Chicago has 21 points on 3 touchdowns and is driving to score and tie the game. They couldn't find really any offensive success in this game. Malik Willis was really critical in picking up big first downs second half, and of course leading 10 points of scoring drives. Malik Willis is 9 for 11 for 121 and a touchdown in this game. A guy who has sat the bench all year, came in critical moments last year and won them a game at the end of the year, and then won 2 games after that. Gosh, I forgot what team it was. I wish I remembered what team it was, but there was a team's burner that is asking for. Oh, it's the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons were showing Malik Willis highlights from this game in a post and saying 2 years, 30 million, 15 million per year, the Daniel Jones contract across 2 years for Malik Willis to be the starting quarterback going forward. And I just thought that's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. Jack would find it hilarious as well. But full credit to Malik Willis for being ready to come into the game at this point. They eased him in really, really well. Matt LaFleur was incredible in terms of the way he coached that second half. And sadly, they couldn't recover the onside kick, and that's the reason they lose this game. So for me, I take more from Green Bay and the Packers and the way that they played in this game. I felt like they handed it to Chicago. There's no guarantee Chicago wins their final 2 games going forward, especially with the way the Niners looked last night on Monday Night Football. And Detroit Lions are really playing for their playoff lives in Week 18. I think it can be said of the Packers going forward than Chicago. Did you get a chance to watch this game? You have any feelings on this game?
No, I saw the end. I saw the way it ended, and that was wild. I saw the onside kick, which was just ridiculous. And then I was talking with my brother about, averages and statistics, and I think they said something like 12% onside kicks, or like a success rate of 12%, which seemed high to me. But
It's
also,
roughly 8%
okay,
from what I've heard.
maybe I misheard. I also know that in college football 26, we lost a national championship off an onside kick. That the other team, the kicking team, recovered. So I've got sore feelings about onside kicks. But no, I did not get to watch the entirety of this game. I did see the end though. I also saw Matthew Golden 0 receptions, 0 yards. I'm pulling up something now that I thought would be interesting. I've got like previous draft history, and I'm currently trying to um, kind of look at where that puts him because it's getting into, I would say, scary territory. Where the names, the guys that he's in conversations with, are not the guys that you really want to be in conversations with. It's guys like Traylon Burks. I think statistically his rookie
Mhm.
year, it aligns with that. It aligns with maybe Rashad
Jalen
Bateman,
Rager.
Jalen Rager. I think actually Jalen Rager had a decent rookie season. Like I think it's getting into like really scary territory for him. And I get that his is an entirely different situation because of the way the Packers wide receiver room is built, where they have so many guys that could start for any team as a 2 or a 3. That it's
Mhm.
hard to get those targets. But I still think that if I'm a Packers fan and just as someone who was low on him coming into the season, it it's getting into scary territory. I'm pulling up Jalen Rager's stats now. His rookie season, 2021, receiving, he finished with 400 yards and a touchdown. Golden has yet to catch a touchdown, and I think he's around the same yardage mark. Um, but I'll double check that real quick. 2025. So Rager's at 400. Golden's at 340 with no touchdowns. With 2 weeks left to go. Yeah, 2 weeks left to go. So it's not, that's not a name that you even want to be close to, in my opinion, given how Rager's career has gone. That's not the first round pick archetype that you want to be following. Like I said, Jahan Dotson, excuse me, Traylon Burks, the Titans draft pick in 2022, is another guy who had a similar, statistically, a rookie season, and he got released. He didn't even finish out his rookie contract, I don't think, with the Titans before getting released and claimed by the
Mhm.
Commanders, where he had the greatest catch of the season. So maybe that's the path you want to follow. But just scary stuff. I think not a great rookie year from Matthew Golden. You look back at last year and the negative conversations around Marvin Harrison Jr. And that's a different conversation altogether, I think, because Marvin Harrison Jr. was drafted fourth. Golden was drafted in the 20s, but Marvin Harrison
Yeah.
Jr. had 600 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns, and people were calling him a bust, and dogging on him and saying that he had been overdrafted, which its first round picks are not all created equal, but that's just an interesting story that I'll be keeping an eye on. I'm actually going to try and get this. I'm going to try and get a tweet together and kind of compare comparable. I probably will wait till the season's over because I don't want to go off for 150 or 200 in a game and then I get called out for jumping the gun there. But in a couple
Mhm.
weeks, I'll pull some of the guys from previous drafts, first round wide receivers who have had really poor seasons, and then kind of see where they ended up. How they ended up going, because that's the path that Matthew Golden's on right now.
I think I'm going to defend Matthew in that in Marvin Harrison's case, it was usage. They were using Marvin Harrison as a guy to beat people over the top. They were not using him as a one-on-one intermediate guy. And they have, to a degree, flipped that this year. And in large part, the reason that they weren't using him that way is because the quarterback wasn't fit for that. And Kyler Murray was not fit for that. And Kyler didn't have the chemistry with Marvin. And now Jacoby and Marvin have been having better. Now Marvin's been dealing with a ton of injuries this year. He had appendicitis, had to get his appendix removed at one point this year. And he's been dealing with other injuries as well. But we have at least seen a game or two where he's popped. Most notably, the one on national television against Seattle Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. For Matthew, I think it's usage as well. When you know when you think of Matthew Golden and the big plays he made at Texas, you think of over the top. and really athletic catches on one-on-one opportunities. Green Bay's not using him that way. They're using him as a pure speed guy, like he's Cavante Turpin of the Dallas
But
Cowboys.
didn't he
Like
have a
he's
super
just
fast
speed.
40 time? Was that not a big?
He has a really fast 40 time, but they're using him just as a guy with just speed, and they're not using him over the top. So, meaning they're using him horizontally and not vertically. They're not stretching the field with him whatsoever. He has one target in this game. He has two carries in the game. They're handing the ball off to him to use him and his speed getting wide. He is a great vertical route runner. He will beat guys over the top, and they're not using him as much that way. And in large, maybe it, to some degree, it was because early in the year when they did try that, he wasn't able to come up with the football. And there were a few opportunities early in the year where he had shots down the field where it just was past him or it just fell through his hands. But I don't think they're using him right. I think he is one of those guys who's a extremely skilled one-on-one catcher who can make catches, elite catches. He can make the catch Treylon Burks made. He has all the capability to make that. And two, he is a great vertical guy. The problem is, I think they already have one of those in Christian Watson. Christian Watson is that, a guy who beats you over the top, a guy who wins the one-on-one ball. They already have a guy who's also elite at one-on-one in Romeo Dobbs. And so they're kind of trying to use him in a different way, and it's just not how he should be used. I think it's a usage thing. I hope they figure it out. Packers fans are starting to call it out a little bit more. In fact, I saw two or three tweets where they're showing his Texas highlights compared to the stuff that they're using in Green Bay, and it's just not the same.
Yeah.
It's just not the same kind of plays. Hopefully they figure it out, with these 2 years. But also, like, going forward, they may not have all of his receivers. Romeo Dobbs, he might have one more year, but he might be in a contract year. I know Christian Watson is in a contract year, and so Christian Watson could sign somewhere else. I know they'd love to bring him back.
Is this year 3 for
But you
Watson?
have
Or no, this is year
it's
4 because he's not a
Mhm.
first rounder.
Yeah, year 4. I know he's in a contract year. I don't know about Dobbs, but I maybe he just has a chance to rise the ranks at some point, and I think it's because the talent's all there. I just think it's a usage thing, and they're not using him properly. For him to be used in this game as two more carries than he has targets is kind of unacceptable. That can't be you're gonna move him. Just moving the damn running back if you're gonna do that instead. Um, because it's just a really deep room, and it's a really deep room of B to B plus. Like Dontavian Wicks is a great player. Jaden Reed, coming back from injury, is an incredible player. You can't not play him. Christian Watson's been incredible. Romeo Dobbs has another one of his games where he just dominates and has a touchdown in this game as well. Unfortunately, he doesn't dominate in catching the outside kick, and it costs them the game. But I wouldn't panic necessarily on Matthew because I do think there's opportunities for it to be turned around. I think with Matt LaFleur, if he rises the ranks on the depth chart, it'll just be easier because he's getting more volume. He's not getting the snaps
He's not
that he
even
got at
starting for a
Texas.
lot of their games right now.
Exactly. And that was already becoming a conversation even for the Chicago Bears. Speaking of them, like with Luther Burden was a second round pick for them, and he very early in the year was not being used really to any degree. And then they had injuries with Rome Odunze, and they had injuries with DJ Moore, and now Luther Burden didn't play this last week because of injury himself, but for the past 6 weeks, 51 yards, 27 yards on 5 catches, 46 yards, 33 yards, 68 yards, 84 yards. He's being used. It's because the guys are getting hurt above him. And unfortunately, it hasn't happened for Matthew. So I think in large part that is what is occurring there. And it's just something that I agree. It's something to monitor going forward because it may not be fixed. He may not rise the depth chart. Um, which kind of sucks because given the Packers having not drafted a skill position player in the first round for such a long time, and then they finally spend it. It's the 22nd pick, it's the draft is in outside of Lambeau Field in Green Bay, and so all their fans get to celebrate it, and he hasn't popped yet. I fully understand cause for concern. It's something to monitor, but I give it time. I would hope that they change the way that they use him as well.
Yeah. A quick stat correction for anyone who fact checks me. I read Harrison's 2025 stats. 2024, his rookie season, he finished with almost 900 yards and 8 touchdowns, which further proves my point. I just didn't want to get called out
Yeah.
for that and not having corrected myself. So yeah, it's something to keep your eye on, and we'll definitely be talking about it. Just because we talked about Matthew Golden a lot, because the NFL draft was kind of a first big moment for our show, and we talked about Matthew Golden a lot, um, and had a lot of discussion about him, and we'll be getting ready to gear up for that.